o'clock and already a lot of people in. There are still people coming in, I see.
Yeah, but we'll start anyway because it's 4 o'clock and I would like to start on time and we have a busy program.
Exactly.
So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the theme session about protein transition. My name is Jappe de Best. I'm the chairperson of the Lectorenplatform Biobased Energy. And well, now you see me in view, but I'll soon be sharing the presentation because I will talk you through the program together with Carleen this afternoon. So I'll share my screen again, and then we also have the rules for this meeting. So now you should be able to see the presentation again.
Yes.
So this is the program for this afternoon. We will start with a brief introduction by me and by Carleen, and then we have our presenters, which will be introduced by Carleen. So I'll not do that by now. And in the end, we have about 15 minutes left for discussion and questions. So some basic rules for this theme session to make it nice for everyone. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We have some people looking into the chat, so we will make sure to ask these questions after the presentations. We will share the presentation slides afterwards. So if you applied for this theme session, you will get an email with all the slides. And this webinar will also be recorded and will be available on our website as well. So if you want to listen to it again, that's possible after this theme session. And then, yeah, I would like to start with the brief introduction by the Lectorenplatform. I'll keep it brief so we have more time for the content. But we would like to introduce the Lectorenplatform because we are organizing these theme sessions 3 to 4 times a year. Well, what is the Lectorenplatform Biobased Economy? It's a collaboration of lecturers of 14 different universities of applied sciences in the Netherlands. Here you can see an overview of all the different hogescholen that are linked to the biobased platform. And when you look at the goal of the Lectorenplatform, it's already the third period we have with this Lectorenplatform. It's basically stimulating the research in the field of biobased materials and energy. And secondly, we want to raise public awareness and familiarity with the theme of biobased economy. Well, how do we do this? There's a whole list there, but I'll leave you to read it, and you can also look it back on our website. Well, I have to go down instead of up. And what's important to know is that the Lectorenplatform participates in a lot of different national institutes and centers of expertise. So we try to be a platform for all the biobased research that's continuing in the Netherlands, with the starting point the universities of applied sciences. And on the right side, you can also see the different themes that we are working on. So it's ingredients and components, materials, energy and nutrients, society, fermentation, and life cycle assessments. So those are the main themes that we work on. And to conclude, I already mentioned it a few times. You can find more information about the Lectorenplatform and also all the previous theme sessions that we organized on our website, or maybe it's more an online magazine that we have that we continuously update. So here you have the QR codes, and there you can find all the activities of the Lectorenplatform. And considering the time, I would like now to give the word to Carleen, which will introduce you a bit more to the topic of the theme session today. So the word is to you, Carleen.
Thanks. Yeah. Thanks for the nice introduction. And yeah, today the topic is protein transition. Well, why are we in a protein transition actually at this moment? The reasons are that, yeah, a more sustainable food system is definitely needed. We are reaching the planetary boundaries. We have a growth in the world population. More and more protein is needed, but we also want to become more self-sufficient in Europe. So that's why, yeah, this protein transition is really something we have to work on. Maybe you can go to the next slide.
Of course.
Yeah, so there are different methods to produce alternative proteins and to have a more sustainable protein production. And methods that are depicted here are using biomass, like using single-cell protein directly, can be from yeast or fungi. For example, the yeast being used in the breweries can be used as a protein source. It can also be done by precision fermentation. Today we are going to give more insight into that. But it can also be cell-based products, for example, the cultivated meat, and that's also where one of the growth funds is has an initiative in. So we will also tell more about that today. So let's go to the program, because that's the most interesting part of today. Of course.
Ja, laten we eens proberen.
Wouter, can you mute yourself? Yeah, Wouter, we can hear you now. Yeah, he's muted. Good. So we will start with a presentation from Chantal Christis, who is the program coordinator of Cellular Agriculture, one of the growth funds that just started in the Netherlands on cultivated meat and alternative protein production. After that, we continue with some details about precision fermentations and what we do in some universities of applied sciences at this moment. Later on, Wil van den Tweel will tell something about Those Vegan Cowboys, a company which is really big in alternative milk protein production. And later on, we will have time for discussion and questions. So please, if you have questions, put them in the chat during the presentation and we will take them along later. So for now, I would like to give the floor to Chantal to start with the presentation on the Growth Fund.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation and thank you also for the introduction. I will share my screen and then also the presentation. So I hope you can all see now a picture of some meat and some milk.
Yes.
Excellent, good. So that means everything's working. Yeah, so really happy to be here and to be able to talk you through what the Cellular Agriculture Netherlands Foundation, what we are about and all the things that we are doing. One of which is indeed the National Growth Fund program, and there's quite some education and research in that, for which also we very much want to collaborate with universities of applied science. So really nice to be able to present here. Okay. So if we talk about cellular agriculture, the way you can define that is that you can think about the same meat and the same dairy that you're familiar with, but then produced in an animal and planet-friendly way by means of using biotechnology. So if we talk about cellular agriculture, we talk both about precision fermentation and also cultivated meat. Well, and Colleen, you just introduced this. So I have a few slides to introduce the topic, and then I want to focus a little bit on the research activities that we do, and also on the educational activities that we do. And there's more, but there's not unlimited time. So also I want to give the invitation to everyone. If you think you want to talk further about whatever topic related to cellular agriculture, please reach out to me or to one of my colleagues. Right, so fermentation in our food system, and if we talk about cellular agriculture via precision fermentation, there's already quite some examples that you can use microbes to produce animal-based foods. and or medications such as insulin. An old one also is the production of chymosin, rennet, but of course there's many different other molecules that you can produce using microorganisms, and we will hear a lot more later on from Will, and also from you, Laura. Then cultivated meats, that is one of the other lines of cellular agriculture, and there the idea is that instead of raising a complete animal, that in the end, a part of which ends up on your plate, you collect a sample of animal cells and you grow them inside a bioreactor, and then harvest, process, and you also end up with a piece of meat that you can enjoy. So this is just to get us all on the same page, but then I really wanted to introduce the people that are behind the Cellular Agriculture Foundation and also behind this growth fund plan. They did a lot of hard work and they showed a lot of perseverance to be able to get us where we are at the moment. And you see here a group of people that did all this work. So Cor from Wageningen and Will from Those Vegan Cowboys, Cindy from Planet Bio, Marcel and from the TU Delft, Ralph from Respect Farms, Mareza from SDG Netherlands. Then we see Boas, he's from Catalyze. That's a team that helped the group that you see here to get a successful growth fund application. Then we have Ira from Kind Earth Tech and Respect Farms as well, and Tim from Mozambique. And as I said, they showed a lot of perseverance and a lot of vision also, because they came together to say like, okay, so let's see what we can do to create an ecosystem in which we can facilitate and accelerate also the development and the commercialization of cellular agriculture, because they really saw a future in that, and also in terms of economic growth for the Netherlands and opportunities there. And for that, they said we need to come together and we need to tackle a number of problems in unity and not in competition. So with the input from a number of other partners coming from various different backgrounds, let's say, yeah, so from agriculture or the pioneers in the cellular agriculture field, scale up, so such as DSM Firmenich, talent and knowledge institutions. A lot of input was collected, and in the end, a growth plan was written, and also next to that, some more activities that will be run from Cellular Agriculture Netherlands, the foundation. So a number of things are important to mention. One is that we said we need to be able to cover the whole value chain. So going from the cells and all the way up to the consumption, with the people eating the products and enjoying the products. And to stimulate that field, we see that we need to work on several pillars. We create an ecosystem based on several pillars, and that has to do with publicly available information that tackles common bottlenecks, so public research. It has to do with making sure that there is a good amount of skilled people that are ready to step into this developing field. It is important that there are scale-up facilities that will help growing companies to move past this valley of death stage where you have to go from your lab bench to a larger scale, and that asks for enormous amounts of investment. So it would be good to be able to have open access scale-up facilities available. And then also what you see on this picture here in green, a solid sector. So also the climate for companies to establish themselves in the Netherlands and have investments there is another very important pillar. And last but certainly not least, what you see here in yellow is societal acceptance. So we all have to, of course, in the end up with products that we say these are things that we are going to enjoy and embrace. As a part of realizing that whole ecosystem and realizing that vision, CAN is active in building a strong and collaborative community. And every time when I draw this picture, you see it's outdated already because this community is growing. So I guess that's a good sign. And you see here a lot of different organizations from a lot of different backgrounds that come together and that say, yeah, we believe in this technology, we believe in this vision, and we want to be informed, and we want to provide input, and we want to learn also and steer on the outputs. And then another thing, before I dive into the Growth Fund program and the education and research that is being done there, I just wanted to highlight another activity by the foundation, and that is the tastings of cultured meat. And I think that a few of you, or maybe all of you, might have seen in the news that there was a first in the Netherlands and a first in the EU, that there was a tasting of a cellular agriculture product, in this case cultivated meat by the company Meatable. And that's really unique in Europe that is possible. So the Dutch government took the initiative to make sure that tastings of cultured meat can take place. And of course, this is very important because in the steps of product development, you of course need to go through a lot of registration, and you need to file a huge dossier that takes an enormous amount of time and energy and money. So you better make sure that you put the right products in there and the right processes. And therefore also tasting, so sensory evaluation is a very important step. And by the joint effort of the government and several companies and guided by HAN Bio, a code of practice was set up. And then the CAN Foundation was asked to assemble an expert committee and to guide the process where these companies such as Meatable can file a dossier, and that is evaluated by the expert committee, and then after an approval, these tastings can take place. All right, so if we look at the Growth Fund project, the original ambition spanned all the 5 pillars that I explained to you, but in the end, the version that was approved, there was a focus being asked, and the focus was put on 3 pillars, and that is education, to make sure that we cover the influx of talent that is needed, research, to make sure that public knowledge and technology is developed, and also open access scale-up facility. And you see here the amounts of subsidy that are related to that, and then also the amount of co-funding that is expected. So in total, that leads to a program of 85 million. Then if we look a little bit to the what are we going to do in the research strand, well, the goal there is to generate public knowledge and technology also, because there are certain challenges in the cell egg sector that need to be overcome, and we feel that we can do that by fundamental research. There's a core program of 11 PhD and 5 MD positions that is run by 3 different universities that you see here. And at these 3 universities, so Wageningen, Delft and Maastricht, there are tenure track positions that have been created. And those are positions that are funded in the beginning via the Growth Fund, but in the end it will be taken over by the universities themselves. And in that way also, for the long term, we make sure that the knowledge stays available and stays in the institutions. And then next to that, also very important, are the 2 blocks in blue, which is 2 lecturer positions that we will be able to kickstart as well. One is going to focus on precision fermentation and is currently being filled in in Holland. So you see here also the currently known consortium partners in the Growth Fund, but you see that there's a second lecturer position that has not yet been filled in. So we're looking for further consortium partners in this consortium, and then also I will tell later on the MBO level. So the research that we are doing now is part of the core program, but there will be 2 more waves in 25 and 27 that will be run via NVO, where both universities, but also universities of applied science can participate in, and where we will put further emphasis on selected topics, and we're detailing out now what those selected topics should be. All right, that's a bit about the organization. Then I wanted to show you, and you get these slides afterwards as well. So I also want to connect you to the principal investigators that are currently active in the universities on this topic. So you can find them here. And that's already a team that I'm very proud of, and I'm also really looking forward to see who are the investigators from the Universities of Applied Science that will also join this community. And then on the topics that we address, I want to say a little bit. So it goes from molecules to society and everything in between, basically. You can look at it in a different way as well. So these are the positions that are in the core program. And you see here in this little bit of a complex picture, but in orange you see the whole value chain going from the cells to the consumer, as I showed before, and there are several steps in between. And for precision fermentation, the line is a bit different than for the cultured meat. So that's why you see the roads to the left and to the right. And you see that in the core program we cover a lot of the different steps in this value chain, but not, of course, extensively. So that's also why we ask both the tenure tracker and the lecturers that are going to be active in this to also look for further funding opportunities and to further build a research community around this. And then, of course, as I said, we have the 2 NWO calls. Then on education, that's also a very critical one, because it has to be, we have to make sure that we have enough influx of talent and staff with the knowledge and the skills that we need. And we do that on educating high school students, MBO, HBO, university, and also postmaster people. So they're all in focus. And to be able to understand a little bit more about what are the needs in the labor market, together with Planet Bio, we did some market research. We interviewed these companies that you see here. And there's a number of things that are take-homes there. So from the labor market, they said keep attention to making sure that the total influx of students is in the biotechnical programs is up to speed. Because we are a bit worried whether there's enough biotechnologists and data scientists in general, and let alone those with a cellular agriculture focus. They also confirmed that there's opportunities to further tune the existing education programs. They're actually, by the way, they're very happy with the level of the students that come from HBO or from university, but there's opportunities to further tune to better match the cell ag needs, and that will also continue to develop as the sector develops. And another thing that I wanted to mention here, that what I realized is there is really an opportunity for the HBOs to increase their visibility with these companies, because I think there's a lot more potential of the students that you train, and also of the research that you do, that can benefit these companies, and vice versa. So we looked at what is the current profile of the labor market, and then you see that in terms of the youngness of the sector, you see quite a hefty amount of university-trained people, so in gray in the left graph. And if they don't enter the labor market, the cell companies, straight from their training, a lot of them come from a wide biotech background. At the moment, a lot of them are working in R&D. And what you see with the people that enter these cell ag companies is that there's quite some in-house training that still has to be provided. And it can be on very company-specific topics, but it can also be a little bit broader, such as a bioreactor operation, where it's quite unique if students already have had hands-on experience with that during their training. And then if we talked about what are you going to need to the future, yes, indeed a shift to more HBO trained staff is expected, but some are not yet quite sure how it will develop because the companies are still so young. But it was clear that on plant operators and process engineers, also on HBO level, there really is a specific need, and also on mechatronics experts. And then in the table I listed a number of competences that were named as very important for this cell ag sector. We talked about also curriculum. We collected input for curriculum development questions, and again, as I said, the attention for the total influx in the technical education, that's something that came up, and there's some topics of special attention which are listed here. and especially data science came up quite often. And then they said it would be really great if there would be a lot of data scientists, or more at least than they can find now, data scientists that also know something about biotechnology, or let's say people that know about AI and also know about biotechnology, so that really have that combination. When we talked, are you open to give either guest lectures or welcome students to your facility? So as a measure of do you want to actively participate in the education? Quite often the answer was yes. So that's also something good to keep in mind. And then I wanted to show this because I said in the beginning, so we have in Holland is one of the consortium partners, but there is room in our consortium for 3 more universities of applied science. And so one of the first tasks for us as a foundation is to identify those. So at the moment I'm talking to a lot of you and to a lot of different universities of applied science to explain what CAN is about, and also to learn about what are the programs that you're currently already running. And then so we can see whether how we can do some matchmaking there. And of course, it's important to align the educational programs with the needs from the developing sector, which I just described. And then in identifying the other consortium partners, it's important for us to look both at content topics, but also geography, and keeping in mind the total outflux of students that we can create. So what I will do before July is to all the different universities of applied science that potentially could be a match here, that I will invite them to say, hey, this is a story. It would be great to hear from you if you would be interested in discussing this further and potentially participate in the consortium. And then we will take it from there. The way we foreseen it in the program is that there will be new courses being developed, and then Holland is taking the lead in that, but they will be integrated and distributed with the other consortium members. And then for all the 4 different universities of applied science, there is funding available for a teacher. So 0.25 FTE for the first 4 years. And as I said, there's 2 lecturer positions, one of which we still need to identify where it's going to be placed. And then in the end, that is the same for the university education as it is for the HBO education, is that we expect that education material is taken up in a regular program, and then also in that way enters the regular funding cycle, so via the Ministry of OCW. So this is the picture I wanted to close with, and sort of as a hope also for the future, where we can come together and see each other in person and enjoy some nice cellular agriculture cheeseburgers. So with that, I hope I have given you a little bit of an insight of what we do as a foundation, what we do in the Growth Fund program, and I'm really happy to connect further either here with questions or offline. So thank you very much for your attention and the time.
Thanks a lot, Chantal, for a very nice overview, I think, on what you are doing. And I think it's very important that this growth fund is there. And it's also very good to see that already a lot of the universities of applied science are actually connected to this growth fund. So that's also good news, I think. There is one question in the chat. Let's just go there directly because we still have a bit of time. And the question is, does cellular agriculture also look into the EU perspective, the position of the Netherlands in relation to other EU countries? Because it's a national fund.
Yes, the answer is yes, and in different ways. Will, I'm also looking looking to you because you've been involved, and Ronald. So Will is, don't know whether you know. Yeah, no, you know because I showed a picture. Is one of the people in the board of CAN, and Ronald Visser is also here as the director of, as the managing director. But yes, so of course the National Growth Fund is a fund that says, okay, we give you this money, and then the end it should lead to a structural increase in the BBP of the Netherlands. But also, as the Netherlands alone, we cannot be successful. So we are in the context of the whole world, for sure, Europe, EU, Europe, rest of the world. So also we do a lot of outreach and communication and communication. So, for example, one of the things I did personally is we presented at the OECD in Paris what we are about, and there we connected to instances from all over the world. So not only EFSA, but also the US and Canada in terms of regulation. So we try to share also information, and also try to, what I learned there is also the value of all the research that we're going to do, and also helping those bodies in making the right decisions and being able to do their work. So so yes, I'm not sure whether that is sort of the direction, Jappe, that you were looking for an answer, but
It was. Thank you very much, Chantal.
And then there's a question from Olaf Brouwers from Hogeschool Zuid to if you could maybe leave your email address. Yeah, perfect. So you can also get in contact. And I have one question actually about that you were saying that you are looking for more students into this field, more students with bioreactor experience or cell culture or tissue culture experience. What we see is that it's quite hard for students at this moment to find internship or graduation projects and positions. Yeah. Would you also take that into account to try to help in that, to get students get more places for students?
Yeah, so there's two things that are important, I think. So I showed you the community, and one of the reasons to show you the community, one of the reasons that we have this community is to make sure that we can make these connections, and that we can play a role in that. So happy to discuss how CAN can be sort of an intermediary there. The other thing is indeed that the sector at the moment is still relatively young and small. And so the estimations go from like 250 to 1,000 people currently being active in the field, but we expect it to be sort of a hockey stick effect and then take off. So we're a little bit in sort of the lag phase there, I feel. And that does it. I can imagine that at the moment it might be a bit tricky indeed then to find internships. So I expect it to change, and what we got back from the companies we interviewed was we really expect a big shortage of people with this knowledge, in maybe not tomorrow, but in the next 5 years, and onwards. But yeah, so there's a little bit of a tricky period at the moment, but for sure we're very open to discuss how we can help and facilitate. Yeah.
Thanks. Good to know. Thanks a lot, Chantal. Maybe if more questions pop up, we can take them along later on in the discussion and questions time we have left. And then for now, I would like to continue with the program. So Jappe is going to share the screen again. Perfect. And the next presentation is about what we are currently already doing at some universities of applied science. So there are more universities of applied science working on this topic, but today there will be a presentation about precision fermentation at Avans and at the HAN, the Hogeschool Arnhem-Nijmegen. So first, I would like to give the floor to Miaomiao to tell something about what the activities are being done at Avans.
Yes, thank you, Colleen, and thank you for the introduction. Yes, we are working on precision fermentation. Actually, a little bit further than that, we've developed the method and the area into a smart fermentation, data-driven technology. So we are going to talk about it, but a little bit of introduction of our Center of Expertise. We are the Center of Expertise for Material and Energy Transition at Avans. We have 7 research groups that's ranging from energy to materials. It's also between 2 schools, that's Avans and Hogeschool. So our colleague Tanya is also in the audience, and she's the associate lecturer in the Hogeschool Gazette. I'm Miaomiao. I'm the associate lecturer in a group of bio-based building blocks and products. I work together with Han van Kastelen, that's our lecturer. My research theme is smart fermentation. Yeah, next slide, please. Well, I think this slide is not that much needed anymore because we all know about fermentation. If we are not interested in fermentation, we won't be here. So I will just mention that amongst those 7 characterized key technologies towards a circular economy, fermentation is one of them and also listed very high. Yaba, would you please go to the next slide? Let's talk about precision fermentation and where we are in Avans. And in principle, we say precision fermentation takes 5 steps. The step 1 is always think about the feedstock. We always thought sugar is the new oil. That was the term of 2020. People started to say sugar is the new oil because we are able to use fermentation to produce, in principle, any molecules based on sugar. Now we are 2024. We are even saying we are ditching the sugar. Because sugar, we don't want to build a new dependency from oil to sugar. It's possible nowadays to use acids and CO2 as the feedstock, as long as we play smartly with the microbial cell factories. And that's in the center part. That's the important part that Avans is playing now with the smart fermentation. I must say, synthetic biology is not that fancy anymore since it's the term from 2010, but after 15 years of development, we are able to produce and get more control on the strains based on design. We are able to make microbes into strains that has the ability and potentials to produce the molecules we're aiming for. In this case, cultured meat, or in this case, the proteins, egg proteins, cow proteins produced by cellular culture. And after that, when you have, I always compare the new strains we develop are the seeds, comparing to plant seeds. Afterwards, what do? We do a fermentation feasibility and we do the scaling up. What fancy about precision fermentation is on the fermentation itself, because fermentation is not really season dependent. It's not geographically dependent. It could be portable even. It can be decentralized and be in smaller and larger scale. This is something that traditional agriculture cannot compare with. And after that, after fermentation, we work on downstream processing, and it's extraction, purification, formulation, production, and analysis. I especially invited our partner in Hazet, Tanya, here, because her team is specialized in part of this process. And after that is the work of product and market. We try to complete the value chain by this one picture. And I must say, it is not a one-man show or one group show. I've never seen any groups that can do all these 5 steps in one go all together by that research group or research team. It will have to be a consortium or a community effort. So that is the precision fermentation in a nutshell and where we are. I will go a bit further in smart fermentation. And So we always say Miaomiao's research is one clover butterfly flower picture, because this is indeed what we do. In the center is smart fermentation. Our goal is to use microbial strain improvement to produce the materials to replace animal-derived materials and products. This can be fabrics like colors, dye, leather. It can be cosmetics. For example, estrogen. Not most of the time when I ask people, do you know where estrogens come from, where we put in cosmetics in our bloodstream? People say, oh, I have no clue. They are from a pregnant horse urine, pregnant cow pee in principle. But how do we produce that in a vegan way? Well, actually, we can produce them by smart fermentation, by genetically modified microbial strains that produces estrogen. Besides that, we produce enzymes and acids. And what important for today is, but I have an animation. If you press the button, it should show up. Yes, alternative proteins, cattle feed, bioactive food additives, and health supplements. That is something we are aiming for, and hopefully we are doing it right. So we work with private and public partners, including universities, research institutes, Hochschule, and large and smaller companies. And our projects are funded by public and private funds. What we do now, so one part of smart fermentation is microbial strain improvement. We are working on fungi, because my previous job was at Westerdijk Institute. There I pick up the fungal biology, and before that I work on bacteria. At this moment, we are focusing on CRISPR-Cas system, especially a system without a delivery package. That means we do not use plasmids anymore. We are trying to use a very mild and effective method to produce, to insert, and to revise the microbial strain in a way that the resulting strain still has a very high vitality. The well-being of the animal, of the cell culture, is the key of industrialization. So we have developed full methods, data-driven and smart design to create the microbial platform to produce desired molecules. And the method is CRISPR-based. And next method, please go to the next slide. One of the things about the CRISPR method and also about the microbial strain improvement is that CRISPR-Cas is not what you thought. We always say you get a Nobel Prize, it must be very precise, and you can do any magic you want. In reality, no, it makes all the mistakes you can never imagine. If you do not quality control and see exactly what happened on the DNA level, but if we only focus on the traditional methods based on phenotypic selection, you're always way too late. Because during this transformation of inserting different molecules to the microbial strain, the strain's health gets damaged.
Yeah, I know that you have quite some slides left.
Yeah, I will continue.
So
I will do it. So we developed two systems based on molecular level control. The system one is called Christoph. That's on DNA level. It's data-driven and sequencing-based. What we do is we use DNA sequencing methods to detect whatever is coded in the revised genomes of the microbes. And based on bioinformatics and big data treatment, what you see is what you get. Normally, you make 100 strands transformants and you test. With this CRISPR-Cas Christoph quality control system, we are able to save up to 80 to 90% of the effort, because we first quality control and remove the ones that are not wanted. And next slide, please. On top of DNA level of control, we move on to the RNA level of controlling. It's a semi-real-time fermentation monitoring. It's also based on sequencing on a portable device. We've built our system in a data-driven bioinformatic pipeline called Ronaldo. What we aim for is based on the RNA-seq data, we could find out which pathways could be removed or diminished during the microbial strain improvement process. Therefore, we minimize the side products and consumption and boost the production of the desired products. This could also be done by directed bioprocess design. And the next step, I'm really going down, then we can run it up. So for AI-driven, so the last but the most important part, we are entering the artificial intelligence period. So we are trying to demonstrate that smart fermentation can be decentralized and distributed closer to its source of feedstock and also to its controlled centralized control center and be helped by artificial intelligence. Therefore, we can replace animal products in a larger and smarter way. Next step. Last but not the least, just a little bit about what is a smart fermentation. We are integrating fermentation industry and fermentation technology through IT, Internet of Things, and artificial intelligence. The next step is to build a fermentation digital twin. I want to spend the last slides not on the contents, but on the people. Here are the students and the researchers and teachers that developed and helped support in the development of smart fermentation in our team. That's Christoph, Ronaldo, and a little bit further with the studies. So that's here, and I hope I did not go too much further. Yeah, please, now floor is yours, Laura.
Hi, everyone. So I'll go as fast as I can because I think we're a bit out of time. But I'm Laura from the HAN BioCentre. I'm the project leader in fermentation technology here. And I really wanted to give you 5 cents on what we're actually doing as a BioCentre in alternative protein and how are we integrating it in education. First, I wanted to give you a little bit of an idea of what we are as the HAN BioCentre. So we are a center of expertise, same as MNEXT, and we are focusing on applied biosciences and chemistry. And this sounds, of course, very broad. So we have 3 different domains that we are focusing a little bit more on, which are drug discovery, bioinformatics and data science, and bio-based research. And within the bio-based research, next, please. We have 2 main research groups, which are biorefinery and fermentation technology and downstream processing. And today we're actually going to be focusing on fermentation technology and DSP. So if we go forward, the big purpose of the HAN BioCentre is to be the linking pin, if you go next, between industry and education at the HAN as a whole. So we really try to basically go out there, talk to the companies, see what they need, and then we do high quality research that we incorporate into our internships, our minors, and different educational programs, the masters and so on, that we do at the HAN in such a way that we are, if you click, we're trying to basically train the next generation, next please, Chantal, train the next generation of professionals on relevant techniques that are connecting them to the industry. And alternative protein production, or basically precision fermentation, 2 different related things, is a very important topic for that education. And I wanted to have this slide. You've seen this several times today, but just to highlight the things that we're actually doing at the HAN. So from the biorefinery team, there's a lot done actually on using the carbon sources, but not only the carbon sources, but also all the other molecules that you can find in biomass side streams. So you're actually nitpicking on everything that you can find in there and utilizing it later on for products. We do different kinds of pretreatments. We're mostly specialized more on the chemical pretreatments, but we're also looking into enzymatical pretreatments. And then on the more genetic engineering or synthetic biology side of things, we are developing CRISPR-Cas for fungi, but also for yeast. We have a pretty strong strain selection a pipeline in place, and we also have this mini bioreactor system now. So we have the tiny reactors that are like 200 milliliters in size, and the biggest reactor that we have in-house, which is the picture that you see right there in the middle, is actually 100 liters. So we really try to bring the companies and the projects by the hand from the smallest step that we can think of like really doing the engineering on the strains, to actually bring it to a semi-pilot scale in which we can really see how the products are doing. We do DSP, and we are not in the part of the food product. We are not a food lab, but we definitely have several projects in the food realm, because of course you can still do a lot with the strains. So now I wanted to actually show you what we do with the students. So it has been mentioned that, of course, casein as a milk protein is important, and it's very crucial when we go especially into cheese, because it's really going to give the cheese the texture that we want it to have, right? So that's because casein makes these micelles, and basically they're kind of capsules of proteins. And you can see that there are several subunits that are actually responsible for this, that interact with each other and are finally going to give you this very big protein complex. So with these 4 subunits, actually what we want to do is we have strains that are genetically engineered to contain these 4 subunits, and we have given them to our biotechnology students in the fermentation week that we have for them. So if we go forward, we can see that twice more. There we go. We actually have a fermentation week with our biotechnology students in which they build, run, inoculate, and do even the downstream processing after the fermentation week of a bioreactor run. So they know now how to work with GMO organisms. They know how to work with a bioreactor, what kind of feed batch, different media do you need to use. So it's really important for them, because whether or not they produce the casein subunit that they were looking for, they actually learn the very important role that alternative protein production and precision fermentation, have in the future industry, right? So as I mentioned, they do the downstream processing of the culture. They get hopefully casein subunits. And this is really an entire thing. So I also wanted to give you a little bit of an idea of other things that we do at the BioCentre. And this is precision fermentation, not per se alternative protein. But at the end of the day, enzymes are enzymes. So we produced a peroxidase from one fungus into another. And this peroxidase was key for Calder Biosciences to act as a cross-linking agent in viral subunits that they were then going to be using in a vaccine. So they wanted to see whether this process could be scaled up, and they were really, really wary about the enzymatic activity. Is it actually active enough? Because even though we could get high yields of enzyme, this number of activity that you see there, the 3.5 to the power 6, was the most important thing for them. And how did we achieve this? We actually first run the smaller bioreactor, 5 liters working volume. We saw that we had barely 1 to the power 6 units per milliliter in activity. We ran the 15 liters, same. And then we started looking a little bit more into the science behind it, and we realized that the active center was iron. So we needed to add iron. And this is something that I think is really nice to see that the BioCentre, we try to not just be a production facility, but really bring the entire project wrapped up. So just to finish, I want to show you a picture of all of us. This is everyone involved in the BioCentre in one way or another, not the students, because then it would be too much, but these are the people that are behind all the hard work that is done here. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Laura. Also for a nice overview, it's good to see that there is a lot of precision fermentation already ongoing in the Universities of Applied Science. And I would like to continue immediately actually to the next presentation, because indeed we are a bit running out of time. So I see Wilvan and Tweel is already ready for it. You can start sharing your screen, Will, and talk about what you are doing on precision fermentation at Those Vegan Cowboys.
Thank you. I'm looking.
I hear you, but not super loud, actually.
Let me see. You now see my presentation slowly.
Yeah, I see the presentation coming up, and I can also hear you now. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, good. How much time do I have?
You have 15 minutes approximately.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah, I'm the CTO, CEO of Those Vegan Cowboys. And yeah, Those Vegan Cowboys, what we do is we focus on caseins. If you look at animal-based products, they are very good products, you could say. Very nutritional, taste good, and often also have a very good functionality. However, if you look at the production of animal-based products, we have a big issue. There is an enormous burden, and that is depicted also in this slide. If you look at the world, of all land that is available for agriculture, about 75%, and that's the cattle part, is being used for producing animal-based products, and meat, dairy, etc. However, it only gives about 25%, 30% of our global protein needs and also of our kilocalories that we need. So in a way, we are using that land very inefficiently because with the food crops, only 25%, we make about 70-75% of all our needs. So if we can reduce that somewhat, yeah, we can have an enormous gain. And I think that's what we are talking about today. By fermentation, we can do that. And if you look at dairy, the part we are focusing on, yeah, in dairy, we have seen many changes. Hand milking I've done even myself, and nowadays we see robot milking, and what we want to do is we want to take the cow out of that production system. We are talking about Margaret, our Iron Lady, our cow, our fermenter who can produce the casein at the end of the day. And Those Vegan Cowboys started by Jaap Korteweg and Nico Kofferman, who were also the founders of the Vegetarian Butcher. They sold the Vegetarian Butcher in 2018, and you could say tick the box, alternative meat, a big step made. And with the cash that get generated, and with their ambition and also commitment to a more sustainable world, they started Those Vegan Cowboys. And I was part of that as of the beginning. And when we say, yeah, the new focus was on dairy, can't we do something similar as we have been doing in alternative meat? And when you look into that, and then one of the biggest products, cheese, yeah, what you really need is casein. And already Laura was talking about it. Casein is not a protein that can be found, at least so far, in plants. And you really need that for making a good cheese due to its functionality. And again, it is also very nutritional. So that is the protein we are focusing at. And if you look at milk, about 80% of the proteins in milk, they are caseins. And as Laura was showing, it's not one casein, it's a combination of caseins. But yeah, that's what we need to be able to transition the traditional cheese to a good alternative with a much lower carbon footprint. And this shows the trajectory that we have been going through, and also directly shows what we are targeting. And we started in the beginning of 2020. We recognizing that it was a challenge, we acquired a team in Belgium. We are operating from Ghent. And we have acquired a team that had already experience in working with expressing proteins in yeast. And we have been growing that team. We have been broadening our activities. And it was in the beginning of, the end of 2020, the end of 2022, when we had our first cheese. Yeah, during the last year, we have been making, I would say, a real good cheese. And now we are targeting to put together a regulatory dossier by the end of this year, getting approval in 2025, and getting approval in the US, in Singapore. Here in Europe, it will take longer. And thereafter, we want to roll that out in a broader way. Currently, we are with about 30 people working on this, excluding quite some consultants. And we recognized in the beginning that it would take quite some time. So we said, hey, we want to understand the cheese market and see what is happening there. And so we have set up a joint venture with Westland Cheese called Wild Westland, a unique opportunity for a nice name. Now since 1936, the start of Westland, no cows since 2020, the start of Those Vegan Cowboys. And yeah, you can buy cheese, go to the Albert Heijn or the Jumbo, and you can buy this cheese. This cheese, of course, does not contain the microbial casein. And this is more a copy of what the vegetarian butcher has been doing in the past, using existing ingredients and making quite good products out of it. And we also recognize that bringing this to the market, and especially in Europe, getting approval here in Europe is a little bit more difficult than in other parts of the world, that it would be good to set up an alliance with other precision fermentation companies to make sure that we have also a voice in Brussels, that we are involved in the decision making around precision fermentation, that we are able to speak with EFSA and try to slowly change also the rules and requirements we have here in Europe. So that was established last year, Food Fermentation Europe. Here you see some cheeses that we have been making based on the microbial casein that we produce. And I would say, especially when you look at the feta, the brie, the camembert, they are quite good, they are good, they taste well. If you look at hard cheese, that's more difficult and challenging because it also takes a longer ripening. But all in all, we are making good steps towards the ultimate commercialization. When you look at the area of alternative dairy, there are multiple companies working in this field. Some, like Noble Food, is expressing caseins in plants. There are also several ones who are doing something similar to what Meatable and Mosameat are doing, so more a cultivated meat approach And you also see companies like Vici, who's focusing on whey proteins, not casein proteins. But there are also some who are focusing on the microbial production of casein products. And as of the beginning, we were asking ourselves, is this wise what we all are doing? Shouldn't we combine our forces? Because especially if you look at caseins and then making a good cheese out of it, it's very challenging. So what we have done, and we have brought that to the external world, I think it was in March, we have set up a collaboration with, you could say, a competitor, with Formal. We have the same mission, we have the same vision to take the cow out of the production system to make the caseins in a more sustainable way. And so we have joined our R&D forces. And now Formal is putting in about 30 FTE. We are putting in 30 FTE. So in total we have 60. And yeah, jointly we are now working, and we have set up this R&D collaboration to ultimately, assuming we are successful, and that's something we still have to prove, but that we form a very strong development and even production machine of caseins. A production machine that can deliver caseins to Formal, to those vegan cowboys, but also to third parties. Yeah, here you see the group and the kickoff we had in the beginning of this year. So yeah, and I don't go into detail in all these aspects, but when you look at, we have also end of last year announced that for the first time we are raising money. We would like to have, after the middle of this year, a runway of about 2 years. And in those 2 years, we really want to further de-risk this project. De-risk it from a technology viewpoint to bring production to larger scale, but also produce material and de-risk it from a market perspective. And so initially doing fermentation in a tolling mode, and ultimately bringing that towards a dedicated installation. And yeah, dedicated installations are very costly, so you better make sure that you know what you want to build and where to build it, and that there are customers who are willing to buy the product at the price that you can supply at that point in time. But again, when you look at caseins, commodity type of product, not a very expensive product, not a farmer product, so you need to have a very good technology. You need to have integrated ways of production, dedicated large-scale installations at the end. I leave it here. Here you see our CEO milking the cow of the future.
Thank you, Will, for a very nice presentation on what you are doing with those vegan cowboys. I also love the name and the marketing, perfect. And there are some questions to you in the chat, actually. One of the questions is from Martijn Sievering, lecturer at Avans. He is asking, what kinds of fatty acids are you using in your products?
We are not using animal-based fatty acids. We really want to have an animal-free cheese. So we are using plant-based fats. But we are also collaborating, for example, with a company, No Palm Ingredients, that is looking at another way of making fats.
Thank you. And then another question also from Martijn is, you mentioned that getting EU approval takes much longer than US or Asia. What impact does this have on your EU business case?
We don't have a specific EU business case. We have one business case as a company, and the cheese market is big enough when you look at America, and of course Asia is not a big market, and we don't want to build directly, let's say, 50 cheese plants. one is enough. But yeah, for sure, it's strange that we cannot bring it to the market as quickly here in Europe as we can do in the US. But yeah, that has to do with regulations, requirements, etc. But we are working hard on it.
Yeah, do you think that, for example, the cellular agriculture growth funds will also help with this and make this maybe smoother?
No, as you have seen, we were part of the founders of the cellular agriculture in Netherlands, and we believe that there is a very bright future for these new technologies, and we want to contribute to it. And I think also when you look at what we are doing in the casein field, in 2 years we won't be finished. These technologies need optimization, improvement continuously. This is an emerging technology. And when you look at chymosin is of course a very nice example. However, chymosin is more a specialty than a commodity. And so here, at the end of the day, to create impact, you need very large scale production. And that can only come with a low cost of goods.
And another question actually about also the business case. If Asia is not such a big market, why are you looking for approval in Singapore?
Asia, and also when you look at Australia and New Zealand, that market is big enough. But if you compare it to Europe and North America, those are much bigger cheese markets. And of course, you also see that even in China, it is growing. But yeah, if you have ever been in China, cheese is not the most important product there.
Yeah, that's clear, I think. Yes. Are there any other questions?
But overall, if you look at cheese, what is it? About 200 billion market. So I would say there is even a lot of room for multiple players and suppliers. And so in that respect, yes, there are various companies, but I would say work together, and I hope that others are successful as well. Recently, we saw some announcements of new culture as well. I think that's good.
And another question about the composition actually of the cheese. Does the product have lactose in it?
No, because lactose is derived from animal milk, and we really want to go cowless or goatless.
And you don't have to replace that with an alternative.
Yeah, there are multiple carbohydrates if you need to put some carbohydrates in there.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot for
to go. Yeah.
Thanks a lot for all the questions. I think there is also a group of students in the audience that are also going to try again at the HAN to produce the casein subunits themselves and purify them, but not on such a big scale as you do at Those Vegan Cowboys. We were not able yet to make an actual cheese from it, but I think it's good to be busy with it with the students and also prepare our students and the education system, of course, for this new protein transition and alternative protein production in different ways.
Our scale is also not big yet, but we are stepping up. And I would say lots of success. And there was a question before about internships, especially for the good students, I would say. And if you're still interested in this casein field, let us know.
Perfect. I will keep that in mind. Then, Jappe, I would like to give the floor to you to close the meeting.
Yeah, thank you very much, Carlien. I'll keep it short because I'm sure everyone wants to go home and enjoy their dinner at some point. So first of all, I would like to thank all the speakers of today. I think it was quite interesting to hear what's all going on in fermentation land, as to say, and all the new research we are doing over there. Second, I would like to thank the organizers of today, because Carleen and Richelle and Miaomiao, together with Marja, you organized the day of today, you organized the speaker, so thank you very much for that. And finally, I would like to thank the audience for being here. It was very nice to see such a big group interested in this topic. Again, we will share the PowerPoints with you via the email, and also the recording is available. And then I'll end with sharing again the QR codes. So if you're interested in the former theme sessions that we had, you can all find them on our online magazine, and it will be continuously updated. So thanks again from us, and I hope to see you again next time in one of the other theme sessions of the Lectorenplatform platform. Have a good evening.
A lot. Bye-bye.